essence and nature of power punching is predicated on strong legs. Strong legs and a strong core. And this concept I always talk about of this rectangle, the torso being the conductor of power, the torso being where the greatest muscular activation and torque is. But in essence, we don't really need to get into even the intrinsics and the specifics and the mechanics of it. Very simply, we can plant our rear foot and step in and out with our front foot. That's just the very basic exercise we do to teach beginner boxers. And the reason is because in the way I was taught to fight, and there's so many different authentic, legitimate ways to fight, we are within arm's reach of the opponent. He can reach us, we can reach him, and we take a step out. And that is our range, to where we're not even in range, we're outside of the pocket. Freddie Roach described the pocket as this shape, this V shape drawn by your feet. Namely, the front foot is pointing at him kind of, the rear foot is pointing kind of outward, and the space in between, the space where you're actually fighting in, is the pocket. So now, I'm no longer in reach. I have to step in order to land those power punches. And those aren't even power punches, those are just straight setup shots. I have to push off the rear foot and take yet another step in to land some hooks, uppercuts, and real what we call power punches, overhands and so forth. So the essence and nature of power punching for the style that we're covering has to do with safety, has to do with distance, has to do with defense. Oscar De La Hoya said it better than any other fighter. He said, I hate getting hit in the face. And I've talked to countless pro boxers who have messed up faces, and some of them who don't have messed up faces, who actually like being hit in the face, who will take a shot just to check out their opponent's power, don't mind taking a few shots, don't mind taking a lot of shots in order to dish out their own. That is a style. I'm not in favor of it for myself. For other people, that's great. It's going to make for great fights, great competition, great television, and genuine action, and it's an effective style. Perhaps, even more brutal and direct than the idea of angling, distancing, pivots, safety leads, the whole science of defensive boxing. Offensive boxing, although much more dangerous, like the peekaboo style, might be a lot more effective. If you're just looking to slip and rip and stay inside the pocket and destroy your opponent, you're going to have so many more knockouts of them, and you yourself are going to get knocked out more. I know that because just in sparring, I learned this monstrous left hook, and I dropped about 7 people with it within the course of a year. And then within the course of that same year, I subsequently got dropped when I tried to kind of level up to a different level of fighters about 7 times myself. Like, it all equaled out because I finally understood what my coach Mario from Freddie Roach's gym from Wild Card was telling me. Sometimes you have so much power and you knock people out so much that it actually hurts you. And now I know what he was saying. I didn't have distancing, I didn't have timing, I had all those things. I had all those skills, but I wasn't looking to apply them. I was bloodthirsty, and I had this new left hook, and I knew that it dropped people, and that was the end-all be-all. There was no more fighting with my hands down and shoulders and making people miss and out-cardioing them with rhythm and using an up jab and all this creative stuff I was doing in sparring. That was all gone. I was like, oh my God. After 20 years, I can finally knock people out. I was slap happy with it. And it wound up, damaging me. So, luckily not permanently, but the idea is that we want to be outside of the pocket. We want to dictate distance and timing and use ring generalship. And the way I was taught, which is a very unique way, I see a lot of people teaching this Philly show now. It's actually the way I was taught to fight growing up. And what people don't teach is that this is a very strong guard. It's pinched very tightly to this shoulder. And all the defense that you were doing before, the slipping, the rolling, the blocking, all that stuff is replaced by this. You're actually going to take shots and they're going to bounce off the shoulder. I'll do it in this direction so that you can see. It's totally different than this stance. First and foremost, you're tilted back. Look at that. The front shoulder is literally stacked like an apple right on top of the rear shoulder. The exact opposite of like, punchers, brawlers. They're dipped in with their weight dipped forward. The defensive stance, you got 60% of your weight on your back foot already. It's not even the offensive 50-50, both hands up on the double telephone poles. Very effective, sure. But this one is, if you're really good at this, it's impossible for people to get you. I mean, look at old videos of James Toney sparring. That guy was fat and ate cheeseburgers and then smoked a bunch before he walked up to wild card and still knocked out elite level boxers, because it was all this science, this Philly shell science, how to slip and roll punches and rubberneck. Nobody really talks about rubbernecking. Danny Garcia was great at that. That literally involves moving your whole body as one unit and looking away from the punch, snapping your head out of the way. There's like 1 in 20 boxers now professionally who will even do this, even less these days. But rubbernecking, kind of like the Philly shell, it's a lost art. So, if we really want to look at the Philly shell, the important thing to realize, I always say, is that the jab comes up and goes back to this position. It's not like a normal jab. It doesn't come out and go back from here. And it doesn't come out and come back here. No. It comes up and goes back here. So you're back in this guard. And out of that guard, yeah, you can go into double telephone poles, you can go into a long guard, you can rhythm, you can go into medium guard, a high guard, whatever. And I suggest you do that. But in terms of the Philly shell itself, the up jab goes right to the chin, and you'll be surprised. This literally knocks people's chin up just like that and leaves it open for an overhand, an uppercut, or whatever you want to throw off of that up jab. And the 3 angles that we can throw from the up jab position, and this is not like this closed tight Philly shell that people teach. The way I was taught is the arm literally swings in front of the waist, and that swing in front of the waist enables you to throw from the middle. It enables you to throw from the side, and enables you to throw when your hand is in this position. So it's swinging in one of these 3 different positions, and it's actually going to land one of 3 different shots, either a back fist, a horizontal fist, or a hook. And you're not going to know. So there's actually 9 different punch angulations, if we don't even include like the slips that we could do with those punches. It really becomes very scientific and very nuanced and very difficult to hit somebody when their chin all of a sudden is leaning back and replaced by this shoulder. You might be lucky and get the temple, but they're cognizant of that. They're protecting that space now with their feet, with their waist, with their hands. It's such a great style, but you really need to be coached on it, and the way people are doing it now is questionable. But especially if you've really outskilled somebody, if you really feel like you're at a higher level than somebody, this is a great style, because it's so confusing for them and it will catch the opponent. But like I said, you got to be prepared to take shots. Roll and take shots on your shoulder. Right where your chin was, you replace that with the shoulder, and then throw overhands, straight shots, just like a tripwire. Bam, a quick rhythm, knock. The first knock being hitting the shoulder, the second knock being you hitting their chin. Bang, bang. It becomes this really fast tripwire countering style, which exhausts the opponent and makes them feel like they're swinging at you and they can't hit anything. And having sparred pro boxers who have broken my nose, given me black eyes, bloody lips, who fight this style, that's when you start to take the bait and make mistakes and throw huge shots that you would not normally land, because you get nervous and then you do something stupid. Instead of being smart and getting outside of the pocket and feinting and maybe going downstairs and angling, you just try to go for it, and that's when the real damage happens. So definitely much more so than peekaboo, much more so than the Russian long guard. I would say the most advanced style is the Philly shell, because it's such an inside the pocket style. It takes so little damage while being inside the pocket, and that's the brilliance of it. But before we go, let's get back to just regular punch power mechanics, because I thought that's what we were going to talk about. They actually did a study. They studied a championship boxer, and they put electrodes all over her body. She was and they literally found that in her most powerful punch, the muscle activation, this was with male boxers as well. Entire Olympic team, it was down here for a left hook or something off of this side. And for a punch off of this side, like a rear cross, it was all opposite side muscles that were putting this amazing amount of leverage and force and power that these pro boxers used. So all this stuff we're talking about, professional boxers and professional fighters are doing it ad nauseum all the time. That's why they always work on footwork drills, conditioning, movements specific to fighting, so that we can use the whole body, so that we can maintain our posture, and so that we can return to this defensive posture after every exchange and being successfully in a safe position while taking as little damage as possible and obviously dishing out as much damage as possible. So you got a little lost on tactics and techniques there and not really the essence of power punching, but really it all comes down to stance. You know, the way I was taught in martial arts is you have to step on every punch. And then I got into boxing and kickboxing. I was like, no. Actually, sometimes you're in the perfect distance. You don't need to step. But what you still need to do is keep the legs strong, keep the legs involved, push off the rear foot, twist on that front foot for the jab. Do the same thing for the cross. And the greatest fighters of all time wrote books about this. They broke it down into the science of how the body feels and how you use these opposing muscles. Like my coach who fought Holyfield used to always say, punch on this side until the rear lat, until the opposite lat gets sore. And that's great advice. That typifies this type of whole body motion where we're breathing with emotions. Our feet are in the exact proper position. Our shoulders are in the proper position because our glutes and our quads and our knees and our calves are moving, not because we're chimping away with these shoulder muscles. So that's the idea here. Doing this in such a way that technically we have enough wind to last several rounds, because we're really just walking, we're gliding on our feet, we're not exhausting ourselves.